let's start. Let's keep the tradition of Hyderabad branch. We start.
Friends, welcome to the today's session on audit quality maturity model. We are having one of the sought after speaker, Mohan Lavi sir. I request our Hyderabad branch chairman Deepak Ladda sir to give his opening remarks.
Thank you, our Sikasa co-chairman Sharan Kumar Upalpati, and acting as secretary in the absence of secretary of Hyderabad branch. Thank you for taking this responsibility, Sharan. Respected speaker of the day, CM Mohan R. Lavi sir, the name which requires no introduction. As we all know, sir is a very known name not only in South India, but across country. Sir has written number of books on auditing, accounting standards, and a very important resource for Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. So thank you for accepting our invitation and addressing Hyderabad and the members across the country on such an important topic on audit quality maturity model, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
As we all know, audit quality maturity model is nothing but a self-assessment for ourselves to know and benchmark our work procedures, where we are standing and what should we do or our firm should do, so that we come up more importantly and deliberations, and we can come up to improve on the procedures and what are the standard international procedures. How should we take our firm to the next level? That is what AQMM has been designed. So we thought, let us have this discussion with one of the renowned speakers. So we have requested sir. Actually, as friends, just to inform you that this session was planned last month, but due to some technical issue, it could not happen, and we are happening on this month, which is a very busy period for all of us. As we all know, we have to complete the back processes and come to the next and implement this next year. But friends, this is the video recordings is available on YouTube. The friends who have already registered and could not join due to some engagements, definitely they will check this YouTube. It is available on Hyderabad branch, and many members will be able to use this benefit of technology and use it in the month of October as well to implement these procedures for coming months. So definitely it is a value addition for all of us, sir. Thank you much, and over to Sharan Kumar.
Thank you so much, Chairman sir. Let me take the privilege to introduce our speaker, Mohan R. Lavi sir. Mohan sir is qualified as a chartered accountant in the year 1989. He has over 25 years of experience in industry across a variety of industries. He has worked in senior positions in finance, in manufacturing and software companies. He has over 6 years of experience in practice. At present, he is a partner with Mrs. KP Rao and Company Chartered Accountants, Bangalore, and heads the Ind AS and GST practices of the firm. He is the author of books on IFRS, Ind AS, key audit matters, and other related topics. He has spoken at various conferences in India and abroad on accounting standards, IFRS, SOX, and GST. And he is a faculty member with the Institute for IFRS Certification course and Registered Values program. His articles appear frequently in Hindustan Business Line, Deccan Herald, and Bombay Chartered Accountants Journal. With this very brief introduction, I am presenting you all before you all, Mohan sir. It's our privilege, sir. In fact, than members, I know how generally you occupied this session, but taking time to address the Hyderabad members on behalf of the entire branch, we once again welcome you and thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sharan Kumar Garu, for that kind introduction. Thank you, Deepak, for also asking me to address on this. As Deepak was saying, this session was supposed to be held last month, but because of some issues, so voice and PowerPoint all clear, no problems, no? Okay, all right. Okay, so this was, so first we should see voice quality and PowerPoint quality, then audit quality we should get. So, yeah, so as we were saying, Hyderabad branch for me is actually not very new, because I've always had, opportunity to speak there, be there. I was in Hyderabad also for some time, and I also observe a lot of friends like Sharan Kumar Garu and Vijay Totapalli have all joined this, seminar online. So it's really a pleasure and an honor to address on this. That's why I've kept this as a deliberation on audit quality mature model. And as Deepak also was saying, I think it's important that this way, I mean, this is not a regulation, this is not mandatory now right now, but it's a sort of a self-assessment process for CA firms to sort of just scale up. And I think that's what is the most important things. One of the most important takeaways for all of you will be that how do we scale up on this? So I want to give a disclaimer right away, which is that small and medium-sized firms, which would probably comprise most of the audience in today's seminar, would probably find this to be a little bit, some of the provisions to be slightly on the, what should I say, non-implementable stage. You may feel that why should I do so much for this when I've got a small and medium practice, and there are so many provisions there which may not apply to your firm and which will be impractical for you to apply also. But having made that disclaimer, I would also probably come with a word of advice that I think you should think of this as a journey. AQM you should think of this as a starting point and a journey. It's not going to be very long before it applies to small and medium enterprises also. And these things take time to implement. The processes mentioned in the AQM take time to implement. So I think you should make a start in stages right now, and slowly as we move along, probably keep this as a process, keep this as a journey, and start as the firm grows along, you can probably make some improvements to that also. The first question I would like to address is that why do we require AQMM? Because I think this is a very elementary question which everybody will ask because of the fact that is it really required? Our clients all consist only of MSME clients. We know the client very well. Client knows us very well. I can ask him for any documentation. He can give me any documentation I want. Why do we require AQMM at this point of time? I think that's why I've written here that this is the present environment in which we are today. And when I mean environment, I'm not talking about the auditors per se. Over the last 4 or 5 years, if I may probably stretch it to probably 5 or 6 years, the focus on the auditing profession many people think that it is a negative focus. Actually, if you ask me, it is not. But to me, I think the stakeholders, investors, whoever it is, it could be SEBI, it could be RBI, whoever it is, they seem to be wanting more from the auditors. They seem to be wanting more means they want the auditors to probably report more in their audit report and come out with the facts which they feel are important for the user of the financial statements to understand. So the general responsibility on the profession over the last 5-6 years appears to have changed in a way in which the expectations seem to be slightly on the higher side. And when there are expectations, there is always going to be a challenge in meeting those expectations. So I think one of the things which AQMM is probably trying to address today is that how can audit firms scale up to meet those increased expectations? Please remember, this is not a certificate or a comment on the work done by any of the audit firms. I would like to state that upfront itself. It's not going to be a certificate or a positive certificate, negative certificate, how you have work done. It's not a comment on any of those matters which auditors are doing. But I think the general environment in which we are today appears to be that the auditors should probably come out with facts which I'm not saying they would not have done it in the past, but which will enable the user of the financial statements to make what they call as informed decisions. There is enough and more space in the audit report today to report what you have to report. That also I can tell all of you, and all of you are probably well aware of it also. There is enough and more space. You've got key audit matters, you've got emphasis of matter, you've got a disclaimer of opinion, you've got other matters, you've got essays on going concern. You have enough and more space in the audit report or paragraphs in the audit report to report on what you have to report, or if necessary, you find it necessary to report, you have to report it. And those auditing standards are only enablers to enable you to report on those particular things in case of a non-compliance. What AQMM is doing is trying to tell you that it is like an accessory, it is like a tool, it is like a additional tool for you to ensure that if it has to be reported, you report this in the audit report. I think that is what this AQMM is sort of targeting. I will have to report, I will have to also say this, ICI president, the present president of ICI has always been saying this, audit is a serious business, stay away from it if you can't meet the expectation gap. He's been mentioning this in many places, wherever he has, gone and spoken about this particular thing. And when we look at these two things together, the present environment and the fact that it is a serious business, I think that puts the focus back on, AQMM in a different light. I've also mentioned here, this is a firm called as MSK and Associates, an accounting firm who stepped down as auditors of PTC India Financial Services. And they have very clearly given to SEBI that they have stepped down because of SQC1, in which the quality control, the procedures laid down by the firm, but not met by the client, or they could not meet the quality requirements. And they voluntarily wanted to step down because they had issues with, that PTC India Financial Services, the quality control, not from the firm side, but from the client side. And they felt that because we're not able to deliver that amount of quality, we're stepping down as auditors of this particular, this happened in the June quarter, June 30, 22. So you can see what is happening. Auditors are becoming extremely careful. Auditors are becoming vigilant. They are saying we'll not do the work in case certain requirements are not met. I think this AQMM is sort of pushing you in that particular direction. As Deepak Bhai was saying, capacity building measure to self-evaluate current levels of maturity. And I will add on to that saying that it is not going to, impact the present work being done. It's not a certificate of work being done. It is not saying this firm is good, that firm is bad. It is just giving you a self-evaluation mechanism. And they are saying that it is required to self-evaluate current levels of maturity. The word maturity obviously means that in case you're doing complex audits, how would you handle, those particular complexities? And the competencies today are either good or lacking. I think there's always a fact that, there's always scope for improvement, as all of us know. Even the best of audits, there will be scope for improvement. But you just have to assess, are you in those particular criteria chosen? Is your firm good enough, or are you lacking? Where would you want to improve? And I can also tell you that the AQMM also says that even if your firm is good enough, you still have scope for improvement in certain areas. So I think it's a very holistic sort of a document which tries to cover many areas which would be of useful to the CA firms to sort of build their competencies towards an audit. As I will repeat, as I said earlier, you should think upon this as a process. You should think of this as a process. The journey starts once you implement it. There is absolutely no requirement that this has to come into your audit report, or it's mandatory, or there will be a penalty and all those things. Because it's a capacity building measure, the idea behind ICI issuing it appears to be that every firm in the country, every auditor in the country can self-assess what is his present level of maturity in the AQMM, and over a period of time, as the journey commences, he can probably try to improve his particular quality in those areas where they are lacking. Now, as we go through the presentation, you all will see that in a few areas, your firm is doing very, very well. You will probably score the maximum points there. But in a few areas, you will probably feel, oh, we didn't even think about this. So what should we do about that, And you would have sort of, you would be getting such what you can possibly call as different responses to those particular questions and those particular answers which you're going to give. So I think it would be very important for you all to think upon this as a journey which has started once you implement it. And as they say, improvement is always only continuing. I've already mentioned this. The work done by auditors globally also is being looked at very closely. So I'm not going to get into that. So this is what the USA does for their AQMM. I've just put in this as a placeholder to understand some of the key areas which even global firms, global regulators are looking at. Say, for example, in audit professions, they're looking at availability, competence, and focus. And audit process, they're looking at 200 at the top: leadership, incentives, independence, infrastructure, monitoring and remediation. So what is happening now is that I use the term in some other presentation saying that they're trying to corporatize the audit process or the audit firm. They're trying to bring in a corporate look to it, but this is in the US. So this is in the US. So we would probably only take what is required for the Indian context. But if you look at a few of the points here, you look at a few of the points here, you would find that they are still relevant even into the Indian situation. Say, for example, we speak about technical accounting and auditing resources, persons with specialized skill and knowledge. Do you have people with specialized skill and knowledge to do that particular audit or that particular assignment, as the case may be? So a lot of these things are common across geographies. That's what I'm trying to say here. Whether it is the USA, whether it is India, whether it is China, you still have certain basic requirements for the audit, which these things are, the AQMM is trying to address. Now, what ICA has done apparently is that they have tried to bring out a model which will probably be suited to the Indian environment. And as professionals, we should understand that any model will have its own share of improvements to be done later and all. So what they have done now in this present AQM, they've tried to fit in whatever they feel is required from the context of the Indian environment. But probably as the profession evolves and as the implementation of this evolves, even there you can probably expect a few changes in the model also, so that they are professionals are well aware that this is what has happened in this particular area. And those requirements or those areas where there's been a change in the model would probably require a further amendment and further remonitoring and all those things. So I think a couple of these things are very important for us to understand. So again, going concern on all these things you can see here. And enforcement and litigation, PCAOB and SFC enforcement, all that has also come in here. I think one of the areas which many of us should focus on today, and I'm talking about this from an experience which we've had in many entities, is this thing called as internal control weaknesses. They've also mentioned in the US audit quality maturity model about internal control. Not much has been spoken about in the AQMM of India about internal control, but because this is only for the firm's requirement. The AQMM is applicable to the firm as such, but they have pushed this requirement in US. If your firm is having the adequate maturity and adequate rating in the model, they would probably report on the timely reporting of the internal control weaknesses. Now, this is one area wherein I'm sure that many of you would agree with me when I'm saying that we do report on internal control, but it may not be a timely reporting. And I can tell all of you all with a great degree of confidence that whatever you all have noticed, you name the company, name the entity wherein there have been some accounting issues which have happened. You could talk about ILFS, you could talk about anybody. The recent example of PTC also you could talk about. I mean, those nature of transactions, nature of whatever has happened in terms of those, people use the word called as fraud. I use the word called as accounting accident. Whatever has happened there, you can always trace it back to a lack of internal control and probably a lack of timely non-reporting of internal control. So I think if your audit process or the AQMM is sort of helping you to report on this, the internal control weakness in a timely manner, that should, I think, really be a very good takeaway from this entire AQMM model. What do we have today? We have got the peer review board, as all of you are aware, and many firms, participants of many firms in this seminar probably have gone through the peer review process. Some of the new peer reviews have also started for the current year. And we have something called as FRRB from the ICAI, which is basically looking at how financial statements have been presented. So, I mean, they are also giving a sort of a quality review from the entity's point of view, not from the audit firm's point of view. But for all practical purposes, we have got the peer review board, which is from the ICAI talking about quality. We've got a 46 auditing standards which talk about various areas of audit. The peer review board sort of, the peer review comes and looks at all these things. But don't get me wrong if I say that the focus appears to be more on the processes and the documentation. I think AQMM goes one step beyond that. It's not only processes and documentation, it's a little bit more than that. And we are also talking about technology adoption of the AQMM, as we shall see soon. We also have this new entity called as NAFRA, probably not new any longer. And I mean, I can tell for the benefit of all the members that all of you must have probably seen the NAFRA reports. All of you have already seen what has come out. They've given a few reports on IRFS. They've given one on some other companies also, Prabhu Steel Industries, and they've given something on Kudremukh Iron Ore in Bangalore. NAFRA has started their work, and probably they are a little bit more, what should I say, proactive than the SFIO, which was supposed to be doing the role of NAFRA. But NAFRA has got a separate program by itself. And there are two takeaways which members should definitely notice from these NAFRA reports. One is on the fact that in each of their reports, there is a specific reference to which auditing standards have not been followed by the entity. Now, the company or the auditor and the company can always come out and say that, okay, this is my defense. But that is only for your defense. That is only for the auditor's defense. But NAFRA mentioning this in their audit reports itself, to me, came as a little bit of a surprise, because I would thought they would just talk about the overall things, but they have drawn specific references to which auditing standard has not been followed. And again, for the benefit of members, I can tell you all that I had an opportunity to speak at NAFRA last month or a couple of months back, and also met people in NAFRA. So I can tell you all with a great degree of certainty and confidence that they are prepared. I can tell you that much, because even the chairman of NAFRA had a book on Ind AS in his particular cabin, and he was marking paragraphs of that particular Ind AS standard. He had a book on auditing standards. Other people had books on auditing standards. And NAFRA has taken upon this task of training all their staff members on various aspects of Ind AS as well as for auditing standards. So they are getting prepared. There is a third body who's getting prepared. Now, okay, NAFRA may not come to my client and your client, and they may not look at me and you, because that may take a little bit of time. They need to scale up. They need the resources. They don't have the resources right now. But as I said, if you go in parallel with the AQMM and NAFRA, maybe at some point of time in the future, they will meet, because you could have a situation wherein you have an AQMM model which has been put into your place in your particular office. And at the end of, let us say, 3 years, you have a client who's been inquired into by NAFRA. So at that point of time, both of you will definitely meet. So to me, it's only a question of time, because I see them scaling up. I see them getting the resources. I see them, everything happening there. This is over and above the peer review, whatever quality control we have got. So one more reason why I would probably suggest this AQMM to be started for all of you all, in whatever manner you can, as we shall see as we progress along, is the requirement of these new regulators called as NAFRA. All firms have got audit files. I think this is something that all of us will definitely agree with. Each and every firm has got an audit file. They've got their own processes for the audit file. They've got their own checklist for the audit file. The audit file contains a whole bunch of documents. Quality is there, but can it be improved is what we're trying to question through this thing. And I think the ultimate question we all have to answer is, can we defend the audit? Now, when I mean defend the audit, please don't get me wrong. I am not saying that we've done something wrong. We're trying to protect the client and all those things. That is not something. This discussion is not around that issue. I'm quite sure that whatever you have wanted to report have been reported. But I am talking about a situation wherein you have issued the audit report, and your audit file has been done and dusted. At some point of time in the future, 2-3 years down the line, there is a requirement for you to trace something down in that particular audit. You are asked a particular question. You are asked a particular question on why this has been done. And at that point of time, this defense comes into play. The need to defend the audit report comes into play, because you should be able to give a convincing answer saying that because of these reasons, we have reported in this manner or not reported in this particular manner. That is what I meant by saying defending the audit. And it's not saying that, why didn't you put a qualification? Why didn't you put EOM? I think that is not, in fact, even that may be questioned. Why have you not given EOM in this particular, paragraph? Or why have you not mentioned this? So I think that is what is the requirement of AQMM. How do we defend the audit? I mean, the process should take care of itself. I can give you all a very simple example, right? As all of you will probably be aware, 31st March 2021, many audit reports had an EOM on the COVID matter. It was a general clause we all put because management was saying that COVID is still there, second wave is there, third wave may come, fourth wave may also come. We do not know what is going to be the impact. We are assessing the impact, and therefore, we have got this note in the accounts, and an equally paraphrased EOM has also come in the audit. 31st March 22, I am seeing many of these EOMs have gone away, which is fair enough. I have no issues with that at all, right? Because maybe the management has assessed really the COVID impact. They felt the COVID has not impacted them much. And so they have also dropped the notes and accounts, and the management also, the auditor also has dropped the EOM, which is based on what the management has been done or what the management representation has been given. I think what you all should remember in as far as AQMM is concerned is that, right, you have an MRL, the management has dropped the COVID point, but have you sort of looked into the reasons why that COVID point has been dropped, or what is the reasons for the assessment that COVID has been dropped or that point has been dropped? I think this is where that slight improvement from what we are doing right now comes into play. And that is what probably the AQM will sort of, take you all to, because yes, we know, okay, MRL is there. I do not know personally. I'm not very sure how much MRL is going to, help us as a document if you don't have any backing up for those documents, for those workings there. But I think this is where that slight improvement is what the AQM is coming from. Now, regulators, I told you, we spoke about regulators a little bit. The regulators can ask any question at any point of time. Nowadays, as all of you are probably seeing in the newspapers also, this news of, I told you, the expectation of the audit profession seems to have suddenly gone up in the last 5 years, though nothing has literally changed, apart from, we have had 4 or 5 instances wherein something has gone wrong. But they are painting the entire population and saying that, you have to report things as they are in the audit report. We obviously are. But the AQM is trying to say that, fine, if you are, you try to prove that you are. So your processes should take care of that particular issue. And this is not about auditing standards. This is not about auditing standards. Auditing standards will be a separate thing by itself. We obviously have checklists for auditing standards. You got all that. Auditing standards are enablers for you to do your duty as an auditor. AQMM is a tool. It's a tool for you to sort of self-assess and say, okay, which areas of the firm we have to improve on, and which areas we can probably not, improve on. As I have told at the beginning itself, this is not mandatory. The ICA has come out with version 1.1, 1.0. It was supposed to be mandatory, but they still don't have it. It is probably going to come from next year, as Deepak Bhai was saying. It is not an accounting standard, it's not an auditing standard, it's not a law, it's not a guidance. It is only a model. Please remember this very, very clearly. It is only a model to enable firms to self-assess and keep on improving different areas of, areas of which the AQM is identified as, I won't say priority, but as important areas. Because using the word priority is not a good thing here, because that means they're going to focus only on that area and not on other areas. This is a very holistic sort of a model. You may have to choose from those 3 areas of the AQM. You have to choose probably 1 or 2 which are specific to your entity and which you want to improve. So this is what the ICA has been, talking about, and they were given the reason as this only. Develop a roadmap for upgrading to obtain to get up to a certain level of maturity. So when we speak about audit maturity, you're talking about having a model to reach a certain level of audit maturity so that you can defend your business. From what we know, right now it's applicable. It's not right now. It's not applicable, but it will be recommendatory in nature. It will be applicable when it is announced to listed entities, banks other than cooperative banks, insurance companies, firms only doing branch audits are not covered. So this will apply only to those first, set of companies. But as all the members will probably be aware, we always make a beginning like this, and very quickly we scale up to the other firms also. We start with the listed entities first, and banks and insurance companies. Initially we do that, but very quickly we scale up to other companies. We look at turnover, we look at volumes of the client and turnover volumes or profit volumes, whatever it may be. So as we are speaking today, they have not spoken about the MSME sector. They have not spoken about the non-corporate entities. They have not spoken about the small and medium enterprises. They are only talking about the listed entities. And I think if you look at the requirements of the AQMM, you all may probably think that, yeah, okay, this can be done only for audit firms which are large in nature and have got, the resources to do this entire process of a, AQMM here. Otherwise, they are saying it's not very, I mean, the scope is not very broad-based in its approach. But how long is going to take for this? Is not going to be a regulation, as I said. It's going to be an institute's requirement. It's not going to take much long for the institute to sort of bring out a revised model and say it's applicable to everybody or to the MSME sector also. So it's only a question of time before we start doing this also. So the model per se speaks about three important areas. Actually, only three areas that I've called them important areas. They're talking about practice management operation. They're talking about human resource management, and they are talking about practice management, strategic and functional. Three broad areas in which they have tried to build up this entire AQMM model. Now, the moment you see this, many people will, ask a question: human resources management for a CA firm. What is this? How can we have this? We don't have, the entire firm is depending on article clerks, and article clerks are not coming nowadays. Even if they come, they're going on leave. How can we have human resource management for a CA firm? I mean, this is a definite response, or which many people have done in many places, which is completely understandable. This is completely understandable because I'm not even talking about the new, guidelines for articleship 2 years now. All that is completely different from this. But I think if we keep that part aside, the fact that, we have got this human resource management as a main area, which, is important for the CA firms. If we keep that part aside, I think we all ourselves will very clearly understand that we are in the services business. And end of the day, when we are in the services business, I think human resources, or I will not use the word called human resources, the resources become very, very critical. If there are no resources, if there are no quality resources, it's going to be very difficult for us to, I won't say meet the AQMM model, but we'll not be in a position to actually get that level of maturity which the AQMM model is speaking about. So I do understand that some of the, and I will definitely admit also that some of the requirements in the human resources management sector area can be slightly off-putting for CA firms, especially small and medium. In fact, even in our firm, if you ask me to do it, I think we would probably score very less marks in this because we don't have the necessary bandwidth to do all this stuff here. But I would also like to know, I would also like to look at upon this as an input for us to probably improve ourselves, because, yeah, okay, maybe this is what we have to do. And maybe we should put in the necessary effort to get those particular things. So if we leave aside the HR factor, the practice management operation and the strategic and functional become very key areas for the AQMM model to, and for firms to score marks in the AQMM model. If you start looking at the practice management operation, now that is broken up into these 6 areas. What are the practice areas in the firm? Do you have workflow practice manuals? Do you have QR manuals? Are you monitoring your service delivery effort? This is one area where I think all of us would probably score very little marks. Again, of course, as we know, this is something which you should not take in a negative sense. They are only trying to say that to improve this. Quality control after SQC1 has come in, I think we have no choice but to have a certain minimum level of quality control. Are you benchmarking of service delivery also? They are talking about client sensitization. They are talking about technology adoption. They're talking about revenue budgeting and pricing. And they're talking about performance evaluation measures. Now, that's why I said, so they are trying to corporatize a CA firm to ensure that they give the necessary, your ISO, you can probably call this as ISO 9001 for CA firms in practice. So as I said earlier also, many of these areas we are doing in bits and pieces. Probably doing very well in bits and pieces. They're probably getting, firms may have a very good QR manual, especially now after SQC1 has come in. We may be having all those things. But again, as we have been talking about the AQMM model for some time now, It's only a suggestion, or it's only a sort of a guidance given, a toolkit given for you to try and see what you can do further. A lot of marks, I can tell you even before I get there, a lot of marks has been given for technology adoption. And I think this is one area wherein as firms, we need to sort of start thinking about. I'm sure the Hyderabad branch has done a lot of programs on AI and all that stuff, artificial intelligence and machine learning and all these things. I'm quite sure that, many of these seminars have been done, and, people have said that repetitive tasks will always be, will go away. Machine will take over. Machine will take over repetitive tasks. You don't have to, need a human being for that to do the repetitive task and all those things. I would think it works both ways. There are both pluses and minuses in this entire thing. There are certain tasks which, will probably be done by the machine. I always give the example of depreciation. If you've got companies at rate of depreciation, you don't have any additions, you don't have any deletions, you don't have any impairment. A machine can calculate the depreciation very easily. Maybe if you also input the machine input for the additions and the deletions, it can do it in a very fast manner. There's no need for us to worry about it. Probably calculate the income tax depreciation also, and maybe the ICTS depreciation also. All that a machine can do, but we should not forget that the inputs are given by human beings. It's not going to pick up this input from the trial balance. I think that level of AI is still yet to come. It may come in the future. I'm not saying no. But as we are speaking today, maybe it is not there. So there will be certain tasks, especially in a profession like us, wherein the machine will give an output, but it is up to us to interpret that output and see how it goes. According to at least what I know, and my knowledge is very limited in this particular case, in these areas, I can tell you that I would believe that AI and all these things, I've been speaking to a couple of people also, and they are saying that, say, for example, it is a contract for, let us say, a merger and acquisition, or even a contract for sale of goods, or a contract for a client dispute, or a client or arbitration of what contract. I believe that if you have an AI tool, it will be easily able to give you a sample contract and check what clauses are there, what clauses are not there. I think that apparently works very, very well in AI. But in a profession like us, 46 auditing standards, for 39 India standards, we've got about 27 AA standards, all different things. ICTS come into the picture now. I'm not very sure that AI can do it. But what the AQM is doing here is not talking only about AI. They're talking about other tools also. So that's what I wanted to bring that factor out and probably tell you all about this, because that's very important. I told you all, employee motive, training and development, human resources, take areas which you all can do. And then we talk about the strategic part, practice management, infrastructure, physical awareness, practice strategies. So these are the three main areas wherein marks are being awarded. So let me tell how this particular AQM operates. So each of these areas, they have a set of questions, and you can answer yes or no. Depending on that answer, marks are awarded. There are a total of 150 marks which can be awarded. There are a total of 150 marks which should be awarded. And if I'm not wrong, I think the distribution is 80, 50, and 20. 80 for practice management operation, 50 for HR, and I think it is going to be 20 for your functional thing, what the practice management functional. So 150 is the total amount of marks which is going to be awarded for this. Okay, this is the total amount. How much you get is something which we look at when we talk about it later on. So this is what it's going to work. So this is how it goes. So this is the first part, the practice management operation part. Revenue from audits and assurance services. If your the metric for this is that a minimum revenue of 50% of the total revenue from audit and assurance services, such as statutory audit, tax audit, internal audit. When this was announced, GST audit was also there. Forensic, sustainability, social audit, whatever audit you call it, total audit is in 1 year. For this, if you are between 50 and 75%, they give you 1 mark. If it is more than 75%, they give you 2 marks. This sort of gives the impression to us that because it's an audit quality maturity model, it's not a consulting quality maturity model. the more audit clients you have got, the more audit work you have got, the more your scores. So this, it's a, it's just a mathematical metric. If 75% of your work is only coming from audit and assurance, you get 2 particular marks, 50 to 75%, you still get a mark. The problem is going to be that if you are below 50% and you have other areas like consulting and accounting, outsourcing and all those things as a part of your practice area, you don't score a mark here in this. And I mean, which is probably again understandable, because that means your firm is a boutique firm, not a firm which is doing only audit work, like specializing only in audit work. Does the firm have a vision and mission statement? I am not going to even discuss about this because of one very simple reason. This does not have a mark at all. So if there's no marks, I'm going to completely avoid it. Whether you want to have a mission statement, you want to put it up in partner's cabin, you can do all those things. But because there are no marks, I'm not going to worry about this at all. Now things get interesting. Presence of audit manuals containing the firm's methodology that ensures compliance with auditing standards. Do you have it? Do you don't have it? If you have it, 2 points. If you don't have it, 0 point. Do you have standard formats for audit quality, like letter of engagement, representation letter, working papers, reports? Again, black or white. If you have it, 2 points. If you don't have it, no point. It's not just a question of saying yes or no. As I've said earlier also, as I've told you earlier also, and I will repeat this again here. All of us have this in a certain manner. All of us have this in a certain manner, in a certain format, in a particular quality, in a particular manner. It's kept in some electronic form, some is kept in physical form. We do have it. I'm not saying at all that we do not have it. But I think what the AQM is trying to, sort of tell us is that, are you doing this as a part of your process, or are you doing it as a part of your reaction? I think there's a difference between these two. If it's a part of your process, you're probably good. I mean, just because the AQM is asking for it, you should not put up a model. I mean, put up a manual. You should put up a manual because you want to do the manual audit based on the particular manual. I think that is what they're trying to drive at here. Now, as far as guidance on these areas is concerned, ICA has given you enough and more literature on this. For every single area, you do have a particular format given by the ICA. The auditing standards speak about something. We don't have a lack of literature on these particular topics. All it takes for us is just to sort of get this and get this particular done in get this particular thing received from the particular clients. Client acceptance are we taking? Do you have engagement acceptance checklist? If you don't have it, no point. If you have it, 1 point. Now the next point becomes a little bit more interesting. They are speaking about evaluation of independence for all engagements based on the extent required. That is a very important paragraph. Based on the extent required, the firm must identify self-interest threat, intimidation threat, self-review threat, advocacy threat, or a conflict of interest threat. And again, you have 1 point for this, no points if you feel that you're not independent. Now, this is a question which all of us are going to have. Very simple answer. We feel that we are independent. So I'll take this 1 point. But I would probably think that, this is got a link with the Code of Ethics also. This is also got a link with the Code of Ethics also, of the revised Code of Ethics of the Institute. Now, all of us are very familiar with this, and I don't have to delve deep into this. I think you forget about all the remaining threats. I think the threat which probably all of us face the most is going to be this threat of familiarity. This is what my personal opinion is. The threat of familiarity is that I know the audit client very well. Audit client also says he knows the auditor very well. Tomorrow morning, suppose there is some issue on the audit, somebody asks a question, whatever it may be, we can always sit down across the table and discuss it. And we can solve it. The threat of familiarity is there. That is what the threat of familiarity is. Because if you extend this argument a little bit further, the auditor is going to say that I know the client very well, he will tell me everything. The client says, I know the auditor very well, he'll ask me everything, and I will tell him everything. The fact remains that, yes, howsoever well we know the client, however the client also knows us. I think the Institute has brought out this beautiful, word called as professional skepticism. And that's a word which we have to keep at the back of mind always. the threat of familiarity may result. I'm only going to say may, okay. In a certain situations wherein we sort of don't act independently, or we compromise in certain situations, which is again depends upon the extent of compromise and all those things. So what the AQMM is saying is that, have you done an evaluation? They are not talking about whether you are independent or not. Have you done an evaluation of whether you are independent or not? In the sense that, have you eliminated all the threats? Like one of the things that the code of ethics talks about is that, can you have a partner rotation, or can you have the main partner rotating out after some particular time, just to reduce this threat of, or minimize this threat of familiarity. But again, here you can see that you are getting 1 point from this, and of course the code of ethics is a different this thing by itself, right? Okay. Do you have a withdrawal rejection policy, templates, etc.? Okay, again, this is something which we'll have to just worry about, because we would, in case you have got an engagement, you want to withdraw from the engagement, do you have a particular policy for that? Do you have standards, formats for audit documentation, business understanding, sampling basis, determination, control? So there are links to the auditing standards also. See, all of us will develop a checklist for audit. We'll have an auditing standards checklist, right? So do you have this checklist for auditing standards, accounting standards? If you have it, is it being followed? Is it being updated? I would probably think having a checklist is not important. Updating it is more important. Are we doing it as per the last year's? Has there been any change in the last year's checklist to current year's checklist? All these things are there. But what the AQMM is basically worried about is, do you have a format? And please remember that having a format is fine, but is that format a part of your audit documentation, audit quality, audit file, audit process? I think that is what they're trying to drive at here. Now, again, you see, this is very interesting. Look at this question. Does the firm carry out a capacity planning for each engagement? If it is yes, 1. If it is no, no. 0 marks. Again, you look at a typical small and medium enterprise wherein we are just running from one audit to another. How can we do a capacity planning for the engagement? It's impossible, because we are rotating out the same article clerks. They are coming and some new article clerks are being going. And we have to train them again. So this is a threat, or this is a problem which we all, and this is a reality which we all of us have to face, right? But I think if you look at the way the AQM is probably trying to also address this particular situation, though they are not giving you solutions for this, they're just trying to tell you that, do you have a capacity planning? What they're trying to say is that, I would probably interpret this way, right? You have an audit assignment and you're doing a capacity planning. And right now you feel that, okay, there are no resources, tax audit time, there are really no resources, I can't do this right now. And you probably tell the client that, it's not a hurry, right? When you don't have a deadline, so we'll do it later on. I think that is what they're talking about here. Can you say no to a non-important audit client just because he's asking you to do the audit? If you do a capacity planning, you are supposed to be able to say no. I think this is where the AQM is sort of driving a process here, right? See, the second part is a process of budgeting, planning, hours maintained, hours, days, weeks. Again, we're talking about a single point for yes and no for if you don't have it. We have timesheets. All the article clerks are doing timesheets. We have timesheets for the managers also. Sometimes some firms, even partners maintain timesheets. I'm not saying no for all those things. But where is this getting us to? Where is it getting us to? I think one of the things which I would think is a takeaway from this is that, are we spending too much of time in an audit? Or can we get the same work done in lesser time by doing, some process wherein we feel that, okay, there's too much of time is being spent. Now, the reason why I'm getting this thought in my mind is that I have seen in our own firm, over the last so many years, I've been seeing this. You go and ask the article clerk, what is the position? They say, sir, we're waiting for data. And this is a very typical reply they give. They give normally say, okay, we're waiting for data. And the client is going to give data. Now, what data is that? When has it been asked? When, how much has been given? We do not know. So as we move towards a deadline, this data keeps coming in at increased frequency, shall I say. So did we have to send them so early? Could they have probably taken some time and come back and done other work? All these things. See, this is where quality comes in, right? You're not spending time on the resource is not spending time in the client's place without actually having a value addition work around those things. Okay, you may probably say it's easy for me to say, sitting and addressing all of you all remotely, it may be easy for me to say. I completely buy that. I'm not saying no. We also face the same problems day in and day out. But again, look at the overall intention behind this. The overall intention behind this, according to me, is that the more what shall I say, unnecessary time you spend in an audit workplace or a client workplace, audit quality is obviously going to be that much more lesser, because you're really not adding any value, just sitting there and doing some normal work. So audit quality is probably not going to be there. Having said that, I can also tell you all that we know that suppose there is an absolute flow of information, again, we have no issues in that particular place. But it's only in trickles. It's only in trickles when the information comes in trickles. So I think one of the things we can probably do, and again, all of you can probably give us, that's why there's only a discussion, deliberation. I don't have any answers to any of the questions I've got here, right? You can only think of solutions here. Maybe based on last year's audit, we know how much of time has been spent in last year's audit. We know what is effort required. We know current year's requirements or current year's transactions, whatever it may be. Can we sort of schedule the audit in such a manner that we cut down on the number of days being spent? Or can we tell the article clerks or audit manager, whoever is going for that particular assignment, that okay, this time you've got a target of this many days, they have to fill it, because last year they finished in so many days and we found so many days to be excess. I think this is where the AQM is sort of trying to drive us. They are not talking about whether they are working for 8 hours a day, 5 hours a day, 3 hours a day, and all those things. All that is internal things which we have to administer. So this is where they are trying to say that, can you think of a situation wherein you could probably try to spend lesser effort? They use the word called as quality time. Can you think of spending only quality time there, so that the effort can be put in other areas also? Now here, I think ICAI has to do a little bit of change, because what they have done here is that they have said that, are you doing a budget versus actual analysis of time and effort spent in carrying out to identify the costing and pricing? And they've given a very complicated model, according to me, on this, scoring based on number of engagements in which the compliance action is carried out here. Up to 10%, 0 points. You want more than 90% engagement, you get 5 points. Out of 155 points is a major thing for us. So what they're trying to tell us here is that you should do a cost and benefit analysis of each assignment. The more you do, the better you get in terms of your marks here. You go to a maximum of 5 points, which is precious in the AQM assessment. It's very precious. And those 5 points can really move up your rating from level 1, level 2, level 3. That's what they're trying to give us, 3 levels here. There are a couple of things which I have a problem here with this. One is, of course, the very complex rating analysis here. Why 1 to 5? I don't see that necessity at all. The second is that we are not documenting this in terms of calling it as budget versus actual and all those things, but we do know that in many cases, this effort versus actual is being at least thought about, addressed, because we also know when it comes to a certain point, we just pull out the team and say, okay, too much of my time has been spent there, finish the audit or come back and do it later on. So we do this on a assignment by assignment basis. So I would think that maybe if the firm is always going to say, we have it, but then for 90% of our clients, we're going to do this and get 5 points for this. I'll do it. Obviously, I'll do it. I know, for example, if you do a limited review, how much of time is required, I know about it. But do we have to take so much of effort just to get those 5 points? So I would think this has to be simplified. It is not a question. The more interesting thing which comes up from here is that, okay, I've identified this. I know for this particular limited review, I'll take 10 days, right? And the cost is this much. What happens after that? The pricing is where they seem to be leading here. If the AQM is trying to take us to the area of audit fees, I think that we are going to be slightly disappointed here, because between this and the audit fees, there is going to be no link at all. So if they're trying to say that you're doing quality audit work only because you obtain a certain level of audit fees, I don't think that is going to be an answer which is going to be answered positively here. So I would probably think they have to simplify this very simply and say that, okay, do you have a scoring? Are you analyzing the score? Are you taking efforts to improve that particular area wherein you feel that you're spending too much of time? Are you taking efforts to improve it? You're doing that, I think, okay, we'll give you 2 points or 1 point as the case, but you don't have to build up such a different sort of this thing there. Again, are you using timesheets? All this again they are saying, but 2 marks for having a timesheet, task management, etc. And they also say that you can fall back upon the digital competency maturity model version 2 to arrive at the technical maturity of the firm CA. And I think many of the participants in today's seminar will probably be having some sort of a software, if not, using the basic and advanced versions of Excel for this. They are only talking about a situation wherein are you using technology to monitor the effort which is being spent? That's all they're saying. They are not talking about which technology and all those things. They are saying, okay, it sort of goes in tandem with the previous requirement, wherein you are talking about budget versus actual. Here, do you have technology for the budget versus actual? Is what they're trying to say here, right? And I think then these things you put together, you can probably drive at what they're trying to say. On quality control, yes, they have the same things again. They are talking about, do you have a partner review, quality review for all audit assignments? Total engagements have to be controlled to be satisfactory as per quality review board. Number of engagements without finding by ICA, committees of ICA, regulators. Any areas for improvement you've got there. I mean, this is what they are trying to, drive at, right? Documentation in accordance with SQC1. Do you have accounting auditing resources in the form of soft copies? Appropriate time spent on understanding the business risk assessment and sorry, planning and engagement. Are you having all these things here? And this quality control part gets you a total of 19 points. Again, these points can be very precious if you're trying to match it with other firms or other audit companies. So you're obviously going to have a situation wherein you're trying to say that, okay, now if you probably look at this sector, many of you will probably think and say that, oh, you know what, I've got this in bits and pieces. So out of 19 points, I'll probably get about, say, 40%. I'll probably get 8 or 9 or 10 points maximum. I mean, that's what I'm assuming that all of you would say. If you're going to get all the 19 points, more than happy. We'll probably be more than happy. I think we will all have to accept that, yes, to a certain manner, we have it. How can we improve it? I think this is where the AQMM model comes in. In what manner can we sort of, improve it? You look at this particular situation. Now it gets a little bit more, interesting. They have moved over from quality now, and now they are saying that, are you benchmarking your service delivery? That's why they're like ISO 9000 for your audit firms. Adoption of manuals, adherence to practice tools and standards and tools. Okay, we probably have it. Every office has got Winman now. So no problem. We know Winman, the data input is there, very clear it is there. We know that very well. But you look at the next paragraph. Does the firm evaluate the efficiency and benchmark delivery by monitoring which have been closed on time before due date belated filing? Tax audits, statutory audits, IT filings. Again, I'll come back to this in a bit. The number of statutory audit engagements should have been reworked. Filing errors, information insufficiency, wrong interpretation of provisions and all these things. Okay. Service delivery benchmarking, I understand that, the AQMM wants us to have a certain benchmark for service delivery. Are you having a standard methodology and all those things? But are you going to also benchmark based on how many assignments have been done before time? Again, I would like to remind the members that this is purely for the audit firm. This is not for the auditee at all. So if the auditee has filed a tax audit report late, it is his problem, but still the auditor will have to look at why has it been filed late? Is it because of his mistake? What has happened in that particular case? Now, in this particular service delivery benchmarking, again, all of us are, we have done our work on this particular area. We know that, we will have to implement this in a particular manner. But you are trying to give me marks based on number of engagements which have been reworked because of filing errors. I mean, amongst all the participants here in this seminar, in this program today, I'm quite sure that nobody has done this because of filing errors. See, filing errors can come because of many reasons, not only because of my quality control process and all those things, right? It could be because of, many areas wherein filing errors have come up because of even the portal itself may not, permit you to work or file the return that day. So what happens in those cases? So I don't think that, this would really be a very good metric for us to probably go by. But again, if you look at it from a very long, perspective and, look at it from the point of view of, if they are talking about restatement of financial statements, they should probably mention that in very clear terms. They should probably mention that, okay, this is a restatement requirement. So have you restated? Why have you restated? What has happened to the restatement? What is the reason for the restatement? Now, see, that will be covered in your auditing, accounting standard itself. They will give you the reasons for restatement in the accounting standard itself. But again, they are talking about putting this in a AQMM. So I would probably think that if you look at this particular requirement and why this is there in the AQMM and why they're asking for this, there appear to be only one reason, and that is that has the firm got the necessary bandwidth, got the necessary resources to complete assignments on time and with quality? This appears to be the entire this thing. Now, as all of us are probably aware and will probably agree with me also when I say this, that we do it on time. There's nothing which has been delayed because of us. Other factors, technology factors, data not coming in, client not paying tax, DSC not working, DSC not renewed, it's not in my control. How do we capture this in the AQMM? That's going to be very difficult for us to do. So as long as your bit is concerned, and the auditor's bit is fine, and the firm is sure in what they have done, other factors we should probably not ignore. Not even worry about. Just in case there has been a reworking because of those issues, I would still feel you give yourself full marks. You should not be penalized for somebody else's fault. That somehow does not seem to be coming out very clearly in this. They may probably have to reword it. Service delivery benchmark also comes with number of client disputes, with dispute not being defined. You review the frequency of bank log, engagement agreed upon and not commenced, working, work in progress, exclusive of client side delays. They have said. Thankfully, they have given us a sort of a benchmark here, escape saying, okay, client side delays, we don't have a problem. 99% of our cases will fall in client side delays only. But client disputes is a very interesting thing because they've not sort of, defined what is a dispute. So the AQMM seems to be saying that you should not have too many disputes with the client, or in case you have got, has it been resolved successfully? So there again seems to be a focus on saying that are you giving quality service to the client without getting into a dispute with him. And the use of this word dispute is a very large word. It has got multiple meanings, multiple repercussions. What does a dispute really mean? And I do not think, at least in our practices, we may have differences of opinion with the client on accounting treatment. We may not have disputes. The chances of difference of opinion escalating into a dispute are probably limited. Probably, only one in say 50 cases probably get up to a dispute situation. But if you look at what is happening, I gave you the example of the auditor of PTC India Financial Services also. It appears that underlying or lying beneath the surface, there are a lot of disputes which have not been reported, not forthcoming, not been told, not been issued. There seems to be some sort of a settlement which has been going on, or some sort of an arbitration has happened. They've agreed upon this particular matter, but here we are supposed to report, or you are supposed to get marks based on client disputes. One is, of course, monitoring this is going to be a problem. How are we going to monitor client disputes? I think that is one area where we all have a problem there. And again, you see here, they seem to be having a problem with this. And this, I definitely have a problem with this AQMM. I think this, I've also written to the ICA and said that they have to rework this. If the engagement is reworked, they're giving us negative scoring. And they are saying this is based on, if more than 40% of your engagements are reworked, they give you -4 points. Number of client disputes, again, on some basis, they're giving us negative scoring. I'm very clear in this. This benchmark of negative scoring has to be removed. You cannot negative score us because of this issue. The reasons are two for this. One is, this is a AQM which we are getting for the first time. It is going to take time for us to implement this. Second, you haven't defined what is a dispute. The word dispute has not been defined anywhere. Third, even if I'm going to get, even if I'm going to sort of, let us say, not score well on that, why would you give me negative marks? Give me no marks. I have no problem. Why would you want to give me negative marks? So this negative mark, according to me, is not a proper way to handle this, because, because we should remember, this is a self-certification mechanism. If I'm going to get minus marks anywhere, I'm not going to report it at all. Certainly not. So I think we have an issue here, but I do not know why they have thought of this and said, negative scoring based on percentage and all. And as I have told you all, the reasons for restatement can be plenty. The reasons for restatement can be, many reasons can be there for restatement, not only audit quality and all those things, right? So, the problem is going to be that, okay, fine, something has happened, it's been restated, but why give me negative marks for that, right? So I think this is one area where definitely we have to change. I have written to the ICA about this, to get a response from them. Client disputes, negative marks. Less than 5%, 0 points. More than 50%, minus 4.6. I mean, of course, if there's a client dispute, which is major, I do not know, more than 50% of your clients have been, I do not know whether they'll be in practice at all in the first place, right? If more than 50% of your clients have been having a dispute, why would you remain in practice? You probably choose something else. But again, this requires some sort of reworking. On technology, I told you earlier also, the ICA seems to be, the AQM seems to be focusing a lot on technology. And as I said, it's not about AI and all those things. I gave you that portion of AI, but I would probably tell all of you all, and and I'm sure Hyderabad is also a technologically savvy city, so many people who have joined from Hyderabad would probably know this also. A couple of things which I will definitely tell you all is that there is no escaping technology today. In today's world, there's no escaping technology, and all of you have already probably experienced this in the last 2.5 to 3 years, wherein technology adoption has become very, very significant. Now, for an accounting firm, for an auditing firm, we have got, as I told you, we all have Winman, we all have Tally, we've got our own probably server, we've got a cloud service. We are doing this in bits and pieces. We've got timesheet management. It's not that we don't have it at all. We are definite. That's why I'm saying, no, if you ask me tomorrow morning to implement this in any of the audit firms in Hyderabad, you definitely get out of 150 marks. All of you will definitely get at least 50 marks, I can tell you. I can guarantee you will get 50 marks. Okay, here and there some improvement you can probably get more marks. But you look at the areas wherein technology can be implemented, and where they can probably look at it from the point of view of improvement there. They have given something called as email usage policies. Email IDs also they've given this. Video conferencing, post-pandemic, all of us are experts. Even this is being done in a virtual mode only. So all of you are aware of this. Use of antivirus and malware protection tools, data security, cybersecurity measures. Actually, you can ask, Vijay can do a separate session on cybersecurity if you ask me. But here's the thing on this. As I said, you look at, for example, the thing about email IDs. I had a very interesting experience recently with last year with an accounting firm who were actually appointed as auditors of a particular entity. And the entity had asked me to recommend the firm of auditors, so I recommended this particular firm. And they had to go as per RBI mandate to the joint audit, so they appointed one more firm as a joint audit. And they were both appointed. Both of them were very happy they're being appointed. And one of the firms, the second firm which is appointed, they sent in or acceptance of the assignment to the Gmail ID. They use the Gmail ID and say, okay, this is my Gmail. We are accepting the particular assignment. And this was a pretty big, institution, financial institution, pretty famous institution also in Karnataka. So the CFO asked me this question: why is he using a Gmail ID? Doesn't he have an office ID? And at that time, I didn't think of it, as a very important point, because all of us are using Gmail. We got used to Gmail, right? And Gmail is very convenient. It's like Tally. You can use it in any manner we want. But when I saw this AQM later on, then I realized where they're getting at. They're trying to say that, okay, one of the things which you can probably do, it may probably mean nothing. You're going to send the same email again from your Gmail ID or for your office ID. But again, look at where they're coming from. When they're trying to use this AQM, they're trying to say that, can you have your office official email ID? Now, you may not have it for everybody, for the partners, for the admin staff, or for the main persons, or audit managers, for example. Can you have a separate Gmail ID? So I think where we are getting here is that one is they are saying that, do you have an identity as a firm? And thereby, there's a certain level of quality which comes with identity. Obviously, identity means you have a certain level of quality also there. As far as licensed operating system software is concerned, we had this problem some time back, but now I think the problem is not there. We are using, most of the licensed software only. Client interaction, alerts, updates, information on the website. All of us are aware of the code of ethics there. Only the push model is there, pull model is not there. Are we updating? They're giving us all these opportunities to do this. And they're saying, are you using technology for this particular method? And we do know that, see, technology is something which can never end. It's a vast thing. You can use technology for anything you want, right? But I would probably think that you look at the firm which is going to implement this. Let's not worry about listed companies and all those things, right? As I said, all of you start making a journey. You start doing a journey today itself, right? What will you all do? Okay, maybe you can probably remove your Gmail ID and put an office ID. What you can have 4 or 5 email IDs in the office, whatever it may be, right? You always have an antivirus program, but you may not have a proper website to do this full information. They are trying to say that, try to give all this information and try to use this for the purpose of your benefit only, right? And okay, storage of records digitally, we are doing this. Do you have a cloud server? This also we are trying to do in a certain manner. So if you look at this thing here, that's why I said we'll not worry about this right now. Our employees put the AI, blockchain, audit, and data. I don't think we should, none of us will score positive marks in this. So we're going to just drop it here and say, okay, fine. This is not going to be something which, is going to help us. But I would look at this in a different way. I am not going to look at this in a way in which you're saying, oh, does your firm have got AI? Do your article looks no AI? That's not the way I'm going to take it. I said, are your article looks aware of AI? Are your article looks aware of machine learning? I can relate this to what we call as sampling, right? So you look at this from a perspective of audit also and machine learning. See, again, as I told you, I'm only a novice in this area. There are others who are much more skilled than me on this, but from what little I know, I can tell you that the more population to give to a machine, the better to understand. That's why it's called machine learning. If you give them 25 things, it will learn in a certain manner. If you give them 50 things, it will learn in a certain manner. The output is going to be based on how much of input you give. This is what I know from ML. I can use the same thing for sampling, right? If I do a certain sample, whether it's Excel or wherever I'm doing, I get a certain output. I'm not happy. I'll give more sample, extend my sample. So what they are trying to tell us is that, okay, instead of doing this entire process of trying to do it manually or whatever, can you use ML for this particular purpose or AI for this particular purpose? I don't have to say that, you have to definitely implement on MI, buy a tool and all this. That's not what we're trying to say here. I would think that you extend this to the extent of saying that, yes, multiple samples, nothing but machine learning, because you're trying to get more results from that particular sample and trying to get an audit report, which has been, or report on that particular thing based on whatever samples you've chosen. Again, 2 points for all this. If it's banks, otherwise, no point there. Audit tools, analytical tools, data evaluation tools, adoption of audit tools. Now, again, if you look at it from the point of view of audit tools, I'm sure that, as I said, many people are much more qualified than me to talk about this. But yes, you have audit tools. There are a lot of tools available in the market here. Sharan Kumar sir itself will give you a lot of tools on Excel itself. I'm quite sure about it. As I said, we have no problem as far as information or tools are required. What AQM is trying to tell us is that, how are you going to use it to improve the audit quality? Now, all of us do one thing, which is basically, or what is called as your, our analytical review is limited to previous year, current year, variance about 20%, give a note for the variance and ask why that variance is there. The management will give us one particular reply for this and we are okay with it. As long as the variance is not either large or it has not been explained, we are comfortable, and that forms the basis of our audit program and audit this thing also. But I think, as I said, the number of data outputs we can get using even things like Tally, and using tools like Excel are immense. So what the AQM model is saying that, okay, you have a certain level of maturity now on technology. Think of how you can improve it. And this technology, as I told you, is going to get you a lot of points. Incident is going to get you a lot of points. So you have a total of 15 points for technology adoption, right? And benchmarking of service delivery, you've got something like 10 points. Quality control, you've got 19 points. So if you want to get this 15 points on technology adoption, now, if you probably later on, I'll show you an Excel sheet which I've developed, wherein I've put in a template for this AQM. And I'll definitely send it to the Hyderabad branch also. You all can self-assess yourself and put in marks for this. On the basis of what you have seen, how much would you put for your technology adoption? Again, I would probably put out a 15, will probably get 50%, say, maximum of 50%, I'm saying. But again, some firms could be different. They already have adopted technology in a very, very large manner. But I think what the takeaway from this particular technology is going to be is that, see, technology can be a beast also. It cannot help you also. It may probably put you into a lot of trouble also, right? So I think we need to look at this from what technology is required from the audit firm's point of view. The results of this technology, shall I say, or the output of this particular technology, that is something which all of you all will depend on assignment to assignment, case to case basis and all those things. But do you have the basic tools? You don't have to go in for a very high-end software. That's not what they're trying to say here. But if you're adopting in it, obviously you'll have to look at it from the point of view of, whether it's updated constantly, whether they're going to improve on it, newer versions may have come, what has happened to all those things. I think that is where they're trying to come up from the point of view of quality control. Okay, on the human resources bit, I'm not really going to talk too much about this because I already told you my views on this. I would only focus on number 2 and number 3, employee training and development and employee training policy. And this, I think, is something which all firms who are participating in this program should try and sort of implement. Because again, as I'm saying, you're probably doing it in a certain manner, but we are only looking at it from the point of view of trying to improve on whatever you are trying to do. Because I will tell you what is important here and only look at, okay, they've already gone to that other part of it. So I'm not going to talk about this. I think this has not been mentioned here. Okay, number of days spent per employee. I'll focus on the training and development, then we'll come to the other points. Most of the other points may not be applicable to many firms, but still. Now, one of the things which all of you all will definitely agree with me when I'm saying this is that compliance has become an extremely burdensome task. Compliance is becoming an extremely burdensome task. When I say that, it's going to be very difficult to comply with all the laws on time with quality. It's not going to be an easy task. It's going to be plenty of issues which all of you are probably aware of. It's going to be a difficult task for us, but still we are doing it. I'm not saying we're not doing it. We're doing it. Somehow we have survived the GST till now and are doing something here and there, still wondering what is to be done. And we are in a situation wherein we are slightly better than what we were in 2017, but we are still having issues with GST, whether we have got the necessary, bandwidth and all those things for the GST, whether we have understood the law correctly and all what else. When we are talking about employee training and development and the training policy, do you have a number of training policy? In fact, many of you will probably be aware, many of the corporates, what they give in their reports is that they give how much of time has been spent on training by various people, including the top management, including independent directors also. So I would think that the first thing you all should do is that have a training policy in your office, or have a development policy in your office. It need not be every day, need not be every week. It can be once in a month. Many of the firms will probably come out and say that, look, I'm sending my article clerks for conferences, student seminars, and all those things. All that also is a part of the game. I completely buy that. But we are talking about something internally. I am just going to give you all a suggestion. And it's up to you all to take it, of course, but it's only a suggestion, as I said. What you all can probably do is that once in a month, all of you all just sit together. You need not worry about calling it as a training program, development program, seminar on this. Don't call it all those things. All that is not required. Those are only showcasing what is being done. But all of you in the firm, just get together. Take up any one topic. Choose any one topic and start discussing about it. You don't have to have a formal PowerPoint. You don't have to have a formal, PDF document. You don't have to worry about case laws. I'm not saying any of those things. Training and development starts by discussing only. It's not going to be a one-man show wherein I keep on talking about it and another person just keeps on listening. Seminar is over, they all go back home. Or the discussion, they all go back home. I think what we are trying to look at is please have a discussion, because when you have a discussion, multiple points can crop up. When multiple points crop up and they are resolved, quality improves. I would suggest all firms who are participating today to just look at this from the point of view of all of you. As I said, don't call it training program on GST, 8 hours training program on GST, 8 hours training program in days. Don't call it any of those things. Just be serious about what you're going to discuss about. It can be one area, it can be one section, it can be one case law, it can be one form. Just get together and start discussing about this, because what happens when you do this is that one is the knowledge being going across much more number of people than than we know about, and they also absorb that particular, and they're also learning something new. And secondly, as a firm, you are having this as a policy to ensure that the training and development happens. In corporate today, it's becoming a big word. It's called T&D. It's becoming a big buzzword now. But as I said, just discuss this particular, because multiple views can come in. Some of them can be absolutely not required or relevant to what you're talking about. It does not matter. This is a holy grail we all have to go through. So I think that's the biggest takeaway I can probably give you all from this human resources. It is, of course, a fact that we all know that the shortage is there of article clerks. They're not coming. They're having problems there in article clerks coming now. The new thing has put the new rules have put some sort of doubt in the mind. Should I do this course or not? All that is given. We'll tackle that separately. But having got them to your office, I think you should definitely put them to this program. And I personally have been witness to a situation wherein without training, people have just they don't know what is to be done on the assignment. They are clueless as to what is to be done on the assignment. In fact, last week, not last week, 2 weeks back, we were doing one of the articles that she came and told me that she was doing some, accounts of some particular entity. And I sort of asked her what has happened to that particular accounts. And she said, no, I have a doubt. And I said, okay, please come and ask me the doubt. Whenever I have time, I'll tell you what the doubt is. And she was doing this for the last 1 month. And her doubt was that what note should you see in a statutory audit? And she's been asking me this after 20 days after commencing the audit. I realized that it's not her mistake. It's our mistake. We have not told her what is there to be done in audit. She doesn't know. She's clueless. She's not been speaking to any of the other article clerks. She's asking them. They're giving different responses. So I would think that we will have to do this as it's a reflection upon us more than her, right? So I sort of sat down with her and told her that, this is what we have to do and this is what the things we have to learn. And I think from what I'm seeing, she has done a very good job of absorbing that and trying to implement it. You can expand this to a different level also. Complications can be there in audit. Every audit has got its complications. All of them are going to be a part of your office. Why can't you discuss that? What is to be done? There can always be a thought process coming in. And these days, some of these article clerks are really smart. They're really good. They look upon the right resources. They look upon the right case laws. They come and give you a proper this thing. And some of them are, some of them aren't. The idea behind the AQM is to bring all of them on the same page, and to the extent possible, try to improve their performance so that they're all at least on the same page to the extent possible, I'd say. So my suggestion to all of you would be on the AQM is that please do this once in a month. Any topic relevant to the profession you can take, and make it 1.5 hours of just having a proper, worthwhile discussion. You all will see the improvement which comes naturally. It need not necessarily be the only partner should address, manager should address, article should listen. Keep it a little bit open-ended, because feel free to accept whatever views are coming from others also. It should not become a fight. It should not become a fight. The idea is to have a discussion. So choose a topic, put in your terms and conditions, and do this. I think once in a month, one topic for a starting is very, very good. In case you're doing it, perfect, no problem at all. In case you are not doing it, please make a start. You all will see that this improvement gradually happens. Okay. Now, of course, the other areas become very interesting, and some of this can be downright, humorous also. But they've got health insurance they're asking for article clerks. Partners only sometimes don't have health insurance. What do we do for partners, for article clerks? Okay. Does the firm evaluate the employee relations of the firm to identify reasons for turnover, if any? And just like any corporate job, there are only two reasons why a person will leave the firm. One would be stipend, one would be the work atmosphere. So similar thing will happen here also. But again, these are all issues which you not worry about much. I am more keen to discuss about the last topic. Of course, during the Q&A session, all of you can also join in. And very nice question. Do you have special policies to provide people time to regenerate, especially after busy audit season? I do not know who has drafted this AQMM. I'm unaware of that, but they really think that we have so much of time to actually spend time and have a good time after a busy audit season. I do not know about other firms, but I think most firms don't have this luxury. Maybe one day we'll probably have. It's always moving from one crisis to the next. But again, I understand the intention behind this. The intention is very, very clear. The object is very, very clear. Do not keep rushing between assignments. You keep time, the more time you spend, or the more time you get away, time to relax or whatever it may be, the better the quality improves. This is a fact which has been proved multiple times across many engagements in corporate world. They've always said that, don't force yourself to do too much of work, because strain and all those things will definitely come. But it's good that the AQM has thought of this as a measure to improve audit quality. But whether we can actually do it or not is something practically very, very good. But I am only worried about how many marks will I give for this, right? Because I think this is 2 marks again. Focused policies and support for staff well-being. Okay, I'm going to not worry about that. Establish mechanism to listen to people and their views and suggestions. Employee survey and outcome demonstrate how well people are taken care of. Again, I think let's not get into these areas, because these could provoke ultimate, very adverse reactions in many firms. So let's not get into these particular situations. But I think you'll get what they're talking about here. They're just talking about the fact that if you want me to summarize the HR policies, it's very simple. Recruit the right resources, keep them happy, train them well. Ideally speaking, very good thing to do. Practically, how much we can do is left to us. Recruit the right people, treat them well, and train them well. This seems to be the mantra which the AQM was talking about it, which is fine. I mean, we do understand that. But again, whether we can do it on a consistent basis with our limited resources, all these things are something which audit firms will definitely have to worry about. Again, as I'll take you back to the earliest statement I made, this is only a self-assessment. We are not saying that you should score 150 marks. They're not saying you should score 100 marks. The idea behind this is that suppose you do get, say, for example, 2 listed company audits. How would you scale up? You are at probably level 2 now. You want to go up to the next level. So how are you going to scale up in case you do get a couple of listed company audits? I think that is where the AQM is trying to take us. And as I said, in this journey, let us say in 2028, you could have a possibility wherein the AQM was also scaled up and the audit firm also has scaled up, because the coverage is extended, and probably both of you will meet, and it will be applicable to the audit you are doing also, not necessarily only for listed companies. So the idea seems to be only that. Are the employees of the firm compensated as per a defined approach with salary, knowledge, and experience of the employee? If you are doing this presentation on AQM to article clerks, please, or managers, please don't show them this slide, because this is an area where again we're going to get into a lot of disputes. The contingency was stipends linked to my previous comment here, because I think we should not worry too much about. As I told you all, this entire AQM model is talking ideally about a lot of things, which is, again, as I said, I'm not faulting them for putting it here, because they're looking at a long-term model. They're not looking at what is going to happen in 2024-25. They're looking at a very long-term model. But they should have probably, toned it down a little bit, because these are practical difficulties which all of us are going to face. And I would not want to lose marks for something which is not possible at all. In the practical, on a practical scale, it is not possible. Why do I want to lose marks on this? So I would think that if you just focus on, see, you will get the article loss you desire, you desire, and you obviously have a method of correcting them, or taking them based on that the firm's policy and all that stuff. But I would probably leave this to say that this HR part of the equipment to just say that please ensure that training development happens. That as I said, knowledge session, whatever, please ensure that it happens. I can assure all of you that everyone gains from that. It's not only the audit, the article does, but everyone gains from that. And as long as you keep it focused and keep it as a serious discussion. You look at the last bit, which talks about practice management. Does the firm have a balanced mix of experienced and new partners? Typically speaking, ideally speaking, you should have. Is the firm compliant with the ICA Code of Ethics, Companies Act, other requirements, and professional, whatever it may be? Is there a whistleblower policy? I told you, corporatizing the practices. Is there a whistleblower policy? Whistleblower policy is going to be a challenge for us because we're not going to worry about this. But again, you look at the entire sequence of how this particular equipment is developed. They're saying, okay, do you have new partners? Maybe new areas you can probably get into. Experienced partners, bring with them a certain, resolution mechanism, or they are able to solve problems earlier. I like that bit. I thought that was a good thing to have, because you should have a balance of new and experienced partners. You just can't have either two experienced partners or two new partners. I think that balance is very, very important. And the word balance in that is very, very important. See, as far as the Code of Ethics is concerned, ICA has done plenty of programs. Hyderabad has done plenty of programs. All of us are in compliance with the Code of Ethics. I can tell you all that the Code of Ethics is no longer just a list of things we cannot do or can do. Right? It has gone beyond that, right? It's talking about those threats we spoke about. The Code of Ethics is not just a simple thing. Okay, can I sign this particular document? Can I give this certificate to the bank? Can I do consulting business in my CA firm? Or such questions are being asked in the Code of Ethics. I mean, it was being asked. Now it's no longer there. It is there, but it is not the central focus of the Code of Ethics. In fact, the PD committee has got a list of things we can do, and they keep updating it quite frequently. The idea behind the AQM Code of Ethics part, or the AQM Code of Ethics, entry is okay, fine. You obviously have a Code of Ethics, what you can call as policy, which has been given by the institute. You're following it probably. You are, also doing it in a certain manner. You are trying to implement it. You've got your, what you can say, certificate from the ICA saying that no offenses and all those things. But how are you sort of bring it down into a particular? How are you ensuring this being implemented? This can be a challenge because of two things. The Code of Ethics is now in 3 volumes. It's not in 1 volume. It's going to be, it's more than the accounting standards itself, right? And there's a lot of stuff out there. How are you going to do this? Do you have a checklist, or, for example, the threat of familiarity I told you about? How are you going to address it? Which client do you think this threat is going to be important for? I think this is where you'll have to develop some sort of a document internally wherein you try to say that, okay, this is what we're trying to do. And thereby compliance with the Code of Ethics is happening. Do you have a peer review certificate now requirement for the C&AG? Empowerment of this RBI and the C&AG, do you have any ISO certifications? This appears to be like one. And is there an advisory as well as decision to not allow audit due to unsatisfactory performance by the C&AG office? Have they given a negative remark? And again, for the members, I can tell you all this from a personal point of view. And again, this is coming in from an experience I had recently with a friend of mine. This was a typical, Karnataka PSU, state government company audit. And this, as all of you are aware, PSU audits, there are quite a few qualifications come in there. I think they were having some sort of a discussion about the qualification. And this turned out to be a sort of a discussion, did not go into discussion, became a dispute also. The auditor said something and the client said something else. And, somehow things didn't go well between them. And It so happened that the auditor had to qualify that particular point in the audit report and issued an audit report, the qualification also. Despite the PSU trying to give evidence, if I can use that word, or trying to say that our audit report is not required or qualification of the audit report is not required. So as I said, okay, there's a difference of opinion, let me say. They did not agree upon this. Now, what the CNDJ person has done, because of his personal vengeance over the auditor, he has told the CNDJ, please don't allot any for the audit service person. The audit work is unsatisfactory. And this is not a medium form of auditors. This is a pretty known reputed form of auditors in Bangalore. At least they are not, it does not matter who the firm is, but this was something which was truly shocking, because why would the CNDJ do that? And when the partner told me this, I was even more surprised, because he said, why would we even think about it? And in fact, even the company told me about this thing. I knew the company also very well. They said, no, we have told them not to do this. This may be an extreme case, I'm telling you. But the fact remains that I've seen this happening at least in a couple of situations. I don't think we should allow it to get there. And if you ask me, my personal opinion, if I have to report it, I will not compromise on the reporting part of it, at least, in case it's a dispute. But what I heard from the CNDJ, and also probably what I looked at when I looked at the qualification, seemed to be that this was probably a matter which need not have gone to the stage of a qualification. It was something about, some confirmation which is coming from a government authority, not necessarily a, violation of an accounting standard or whatever. But you see, what the AQM was taught of, they would mention this specifically in the AQM, which means that obviously these are things that are happening, in the outside world also. Do you have any negative assessment in the QRB? Okay, has there been any case of professional misconduct on the part of a firm wherein has been proved guilty? Only if you are proved guilty, you have to give this. I think they have got something about the minimum fees. They are also mentioning a point about minimum scale of fees of the ICAI. Now, this I'm going to leave again open-ended and not specifically answer any question. Give any comment on this. See, minimum scale of fees is something which is nice to see on the, nice to know about also, but whether we can actually do it on a client-by-client basis, I don't know. In a few cases, yes, we can. In many cases, probably we cannot. But the AQM seems to be giving us a particular, quality for this, and saying that for up to 50% engagements, if you have got scale of fees recommended by the ICAI, 1 point. For more than 50%, 2 points. For none, it's 0 point. Now, though the scale of fees is a band, it's not a fixed amount, though it's a band, I do not know whether in many cases we're even at the lower end of the band. So in this case, again, I can completely get where AQM is coming from. They are saying that if you are providing a quality service, you should be remunerated for it, or you should get reward for that. There is absolutely no doubt in the statement at all. We all agree with it. But then again, you want me to mark me on that or score me on that? I'm not very sure how we would probably work on this, because this could be an area wherein there could be a lot of negative. I won't say negative points, but we probably not score many points, because personally, I have always felt this, that it's nice to have a recommended scale of fees by our institute, because it's always good to look upon whether we are in that range or that bracket or not. But ultimately, I think this fee is going to be only the auditor and the client can decide the fees. It's only between them, because many factors come in the way of this fees thing. I know clients, I know CA friends of mine who probably had been small companies, they're doing not companies that no rotation law, partnership firms law. They've been auditors for probably 10, 15, 20 years, and the scale of fees has not changed at all. Volumes have increased, the operations have increased tremendously, but the scale of fees has not changed because they're just comfortable. They're saying, he's referred to me so many other clients, so I don't want to change the fees. So here we get what the requirement of the ICAI is. They're trying to say, okay, the better, more you charge, the better it is. But I can do the same quality of work for a lesser fee also. I think that also is something you have to agree with. Okay, here's what is going to happen now. Total of 150 points. Total possible points you can get is 80 points of the first section, which is practice management operation. HR 50 points I told you on, and as far as the this peer review board, not 20 points, I think we can easily get, because most of us already, this thing in that particular area. How is it going to be rated? And this is important for all of you to remember. This is very interesting also. They are not talking about rating you total 150. I got 85 to 150. No, they are saying rating at each section or each, area. Up to 30% if you got in each section, your rating is 1, indicates the firm is very nascent. You will have to take immediate steps to upgrade the competence. 30 to 60% in one section, they are saying you have some progress, you're level 2. You'll have to reach a further, do much more to reach a further level of competency. If you've got above 60% in each section, you're level 3. You have made significant adoption, but you should focus on optimizing further. Even then they're not happy. They should focus on optimizing further here. And where are we in this situation? If you ask me, I'm just putting us as level 1 because, I'm not saying that all of us are in the same boat, but I think level 1 is where we will probably be, because if you really answer honestly, we'll probably be at 11, but maybe we can probably push up to level 2. I have put level 1 here because I feel that there is still scope for improvement. You all may probably be at level 2 and want to go to level 3. But yet, even if you're at level 2 and want to go to level 3, you still have a scope for improvement here. Level 3 should probably be achieved in 3 or 4 years' time is what I have said. So if you start on it as a process today, maybe in 3 or 4 years' time, you can probably reach level 3 and be there for optimizing further is what they're trying to say. Probably remain in that level 3. Okay, there are a couple of things which I have got, which will be important for us to also discuss. One is that the AQM is not very sure as to how frequently we should do the AQM. Once in 3 years, once in 4 years, once in 5 years, once in every year, we do not know. So we need a little bit of clarity on that. That again, the ICA will have to be addressed. I don't think that this should be an annual affair, because my quality within a financial year may not really change too much, but I do not know. Maybe once in 3 years is a good way to look at it. The second point, which I think is of concern to many of us, is that you are saying it's a self-assessment mechanism. I am going to score, I've done my honest job here and said, okay, out of 150 points, I've got, let us say 40, 25 and 10 in 3 sections. 75 I've got, which is 50%, right? Is somebody going to come and check this? Will the peer reviewer come and ask me for this particular certification? Can the peer reviewer check my check of the self-rating? Can he do a self audit of my rating? Right now, no clarity on this. We would need further clarity on this, because if you look at it from the point of view of quality reviewer and AQM model, this is going to be the minimum thing which the peer reviewer is going to ask. He is definitely going to fall back and ask us what is going to be what has been your AQM rating and where are you today and what document you have to improve it. This is going to be a definite peer review question. Is that going to be a peer review question or a part of the peer review job is something which the institute will have to definitely clarify. The other thing is, okay, I've got a rating of 75%. I'm at level 2. Where will these ratings be used? Are we going to be assessed for bank audits and C&H audits based on our rating? If it goes to the C&H, the C&H will definitely circulate it. They're going to say, okay, you're level 2, okay, this audit is what you will get. Again, here, I'm not saying that it will be used or publicly distributed widely and all those things. But my point is always going to be that end of the day, okay, we have not even commenced the rating business, the AQM business, so that's fine. But end of the day, let us say in 3 or 4 years' time, as I said, the model has developed, the firms have also developed, they've got ratings done, it's all there. The process is working quite well. Where is going to be used? I mean, is it going to be given to regulators? Is SEBI going to have a look at it? Will the RBI have a look at it? Will C&H have a look at it? I think, because I think we should be very clear on one thing. If there is a mechanism, for example, SEBI now requires a peer review certificate for us to be doing a listed company audit. So what is going to prevent SEBI from saying that if you want a PSU or listed company audit, you should be at level 2. Nothing prevents them from saying that. That is also an area wherein I think we require a lot of clarity in this. Hopefully, these clarifications will definitely come. Okay, so I think what I probably thought I should tell you all, and I'll definitely circulate this to the Hyderabad branch also, is that I have developed this format on Excel, which has given these individual areas. I have discussed only those main areas. And I've got this pretty comprehensively done here. I think it's coming to 150 if I'm not wrong. Let me just do a quick counter check. Otherwise, I'll adjust this into 150 and give it to you. Yeah, I've got 150.
Sir, can you share the screen instead of slides, sir? We are not finding Excel.
You're not finding the Excel. Just give me 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Sorry.
Yeah, now we can see it.
Now you can see. Sorry about that. I didn't know about this thing.
Yeah.
So what I've done here is that, okay, I don't think whether I can go to the individual areas for lack of time, but here, this is what I've done, So I've done the competency basis here. I've done the score criteria. I've done what is the score basis. What is your score? A number of points you've got in this. And I've done this across all the areas which have been asked in this. I've not given any points for, client disputes and all those things. This entire thing has been captured in the form of this particular Excel document, which I will definitely share with the Hyderabad branch. My suggestion to all of you all is going to be that, that's what I'm saying. See, each area I've done here, I've got 50 for your HR also. And there are some areas which are not mentioned. For example, DISA and all that has also been mentioned. These are requirements in the peer review of the ICH. So I'm not worried about that, not spoken about very detailedly. And yes, I've got this total of 150. So my suggestion to all of you all would be that please go through this. You don't have to do it by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There's not going to be any, there's no requirement for you to do it immediately. Right now, you don't have to do it. But at some point of time, please develop or have some sort of a mechanism wherein these questions are being looked at and this rating sheet has been developed. In fact, I did it for our own firm, and I can be honest in my opinion that I got a mark of about 70, I think, with a little bit of, I won't say adjustments, but yeah, I try to be a little bit positive on some aspects. So I got around 75, and I think 70 or 72, I think we got. But yeah, but some areas we could not, really give a complete marking to us. So I think this is what we have to look at from the point of view of this thing here. As far as the SME practitioners are concerned, this is always a question we always get. And the question is that, do I require so much for my practice? Limited clients, limited article clerks, limited practice. I don't have so much of bandwidth to do all these things. Do I require this? And I agree that applicability also is going to be limited, but I would still suggest that you should make a start now. When I'm saying this, I don't again want to say this with the sense that I'm not saying quality is there, not there, and all those things. I do not know whether the AQMM will come in a very large scale to small and medium practices, because NAFRA may not come there, SFIO may not come there, but ICA may definitely come there. They may have their own, because this is an ICA document and this is an ICA requirement. They may tell the peer reviewer, look at this particular company and see what they are trying to do. Look at this particular firm and see what they're trying to do. Because we should realize that when the entire world, as I told you all, is looking upon us with a very different set of eyes nowadays, and that's not a good thing to happen. And I can give you all multiple examples across geographies wherein auditors have actually been warned about the work they're being done, and not necessarily about the fact that documentation was not there or you didn't follow accounting standard and all those. There have been multiple cases where a lot of negative things have been said to an auditor, right? So I think, you may not want to do it on a 150 points basis, but you may want to make a start. You may want to make a start by saying that, okay, do I have, for example, AS? Do I have checklist for AS? AS means both auditing standards and accounting standards. You can interpret it in any way you want. Do I have checklist for both? Do I have a training policy? That's all. Am I following the code of ethics? If you answer these three questions, you are getting almost to about, say, 25% of the AQMM. Like that, on an annual basis, you keep adding on points and start doing it. Because I completely buy the point that it may not be possible for you to do 100% AQMM model and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. But you should remember that, and this is something which again I can tell you all with some experience, that smaller firms have larger problems. We have multiple issues because I told you, threat of familiarity, self-interest threat, the The threat of fees also, the fact that fees may not be as per the ICA standards. We have multiple, actually we have larger problems than what large firms have. See, large firms may have processes. Once the process breaks, the entire firm itself is in a lot of difficulty. But the challenges of implementing this AQMM are probably more on the smaller firms than on the larger firms. So we're not expecting you to do it within, say, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. As I told you at the beginning, this is a journey. Start the journey now. Pick up those areas where you can probably do something, right? You don't have to have detailed HR manual and all those things in your office, right? Pick up those areas where you can do something and start improving on that on a monthly basis, on a regular basis, as the case may be. Focus on checklists, manuals, audit documentation, and conclusions. I think this is one area which I'll give before I take any questions. And I think there are a few questions that I'll try to answer them. The checklist manuals, all of us have got. I think we are clear on that also. But just look at this, and you all can do this for any audit which has been recently concluded or done recently or finalized recently. Just look at this one document, and the document I'm talking about is what is called as conclusions, right? Does your audit documentation have a single piece of paper in which, or a couple of pages in which some of the issues raised during the audit have been documented, and how they have been resolved has been also documented? And there's a partner sign off on that also, or the partner has signed off on that, along with the audit manager who worked with. And if it is there, brilliant, nothing of that sort, but there's nothing to beat that. But I would find that in many cases, documentation is there. I'm not saying no. You've got checklists, you've got AS, okay. AS 7, for example, you will say AS 29, complied in full, no problem, it will be there. But in case of any issues of AS 29, how has that been handled? Is there a sign off from the partner? I would probably think that in many cases, the document is there, but it's no sign off is there. And this particular document summarizing how conclusions have been reached and how they have been disposed of, more importantly. I told you about the COVID note, for example. That document, if it is there, good. If it is not there, I think you should do the document. And I think that is why your AQM will probably help you to improve. I tried to do this in a recent audit, and I found to my surprise that it was not there last year. And I tried to do it this year. And so that, that's why I said, no, this is we keep on evolving on this journey of quality. And every single time you'll probably think of something new here. So I want to leave you all with that particular comment. And once again, let me thank the Hyderabad branch for giving me this opportunity. What I will do is that the PowerPoint has already been shared with them. I'll definitely share the Excel sheet also. Sharan Kumar sir, Deepak sir, thank you very much for this opportunity. Any questions, I'll be happy to take it, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. We'll wait for the questions. If any, then otherwise we'll conclude.
I think there are some questions.
Yeah. Any participants, any question?
Okay. Vijay has given maximum number of.
Vijay sir asked a couple of questions. Then those are questions, rather more information, sir. I read it. Vijay sir, are you there? I'm not finding it.
Manual requirement of peer review. Okay.
Yeah. Vijay sir, you can talk now. You can unmute and speak. We allowed you.
Yeah, Mohan, thank you for the wonderful session. Quick question is, see, the entire audit quality measurement model seems to be borrowed from some Big Four methodology. It needs some tweaking to suit to the small firms. How can we suggest this to ICAI? Because you cannot make one model for everyone. You need to tailor it.
Yeah. So Vijay, so there is something called a Center for Audit Quality, CAQ. They are the people who have brought out this model. I think you'll have an outreach program soon. They probably started in some time before this is fully implemented. I think that is when we should probably get back to them and tell them this thing. Okay.
They are not listening. When the exposure draft came, we have deliberated in Hyderabad branch. We have written to them, some questions are, unrealistic, as you rightly pointed out. And, especially with respect to minimum recommended fees. And a lot of points are flowing through the peer review
Right.
mechanism.
You give it to Sharan Kumar, Vijay, he'll do it, don't worry. No, I get what you're saying, but I think this is a time-consuming process. This is something which is not. I get what you're saying. This is a model which will probably can't implement in Chicago also, right? Forget Hyderabad. So we will have to evolve on this. It will probably take some time, but I'm quite sure that they will come out with some sort of mechanism for us to do this, definitely.
But they should change the maturity model on firm to firm basis.
Yeah, yeah,
Big four firms, anyway, they will have methodology and tools available to them.
Sure.
Whereas for small and medium firms, they may not have the bandwidth to have the tool and methodology.
Absolutely.
So ICA should help them.
Yeah, point taken, definitely.
Thank you, Mohan. Thank you.
Thanks, Vijay.
Thank you, Vijay, sir. Any other question from anyone? Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Deepak, over to you. You would like to give any closing remarks?
Thank you, Mohan, sir. You have explained the complete AQMM in a very lucid and a simple language, point by point, not only the basis which institute have driven, but also the basis what should be the recommendations. So you said you have already written emails to the institute for any changes and the recommendation and clarification modification. That shows excellent commitment, sir. And thank you for taking seminar to Hyderabad. And Santosh, please share the virtual certificate. Sir, small token of from Hyderabad branch, kindly accept it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Accept it, sir. Already you got 10 points for this in AQM. Don't worry about this.
Thank you. Over to Sharan Garu for formal vote of thanks.
Yeah. Mohan sir, indeed, it's an excellent section actually. So you have given for every item the objective. That is very interesting. But in fact, throughout the session, I am part of it. And I like the last slide, sir. I can see many are my friends in the attendees who are small and medium sector guys. It's not that it is not applicable to them. They can start working on it. As you clearly mentioned, when you were talking about the last point of summary note, sir, just to give the information to everyone, sir, for the last 2 years, in fact, we are doing it, sir. In fact, even to prepare the folders, for every client, we make sure that one folder is there is a summary note. One Word document, whoever worked in that particular assignment, they should write it so that we can review and keep it. Because after 5 years or 4 years, if any regulator come and ask a question, and remembering the entire assignment is very difficult. At least the important points, we can keep it.
Right.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, it's a great privilege for the Hyderabad branch inviting you, and you have taken the time. I thank all the participants for their patient hearing, and I thank all the staff and managing committee members who in fact